Live from Red Bull Gaming Sphere, welcome to Pyjama Party. My name is Tutsi and I'll be your host here as we welcome you to the very first NIP talk show. In this very couch next to me will host your favorite players, favorite coaches, and of course the biggest and best personalities within the scene. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pyjama Party. Now, for our first show, we obviously had to bring in the most talked about guy within the scene right now, with the news breaking just hours ago that he's back in NIP for a third time, this time as a GM, whatever that means. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest is Threat.
Big kill coming in from Threat there. That actually stopped. Come back around, he's managed at least once. Can he deny the bomb plant? That would be more impressive, and he does. And he could have closed it.
Now, for everyone in chat, make sure you get those questions in. We're going to grill Threat a bit at the end, so make sure you keep those questions coming. But we have a lot to talk about. First of all, Threat, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Are everything good? First of all, first impressions. What do you feel about the set? But even more important, what about the pajamas?
The pajamas is interesting.
Be honest.
I didn't get the memo, so I'm wearing my regular clothes here. The set looks awesome.
It does.
It feels weird being back here since it feels like I just left.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of being back, obviously you're back now for the third time. Are there any major differences you feel like? Does it feel like being home, or was it a brand new experience coming back?
It was really weird because I'm when I work, I go very all in and I sort of live and breathe work. I think about it all the time when I'm sleeping, almost like dreaming about work all the time. So when I left almost a year ago, it was like in December, having so much off time. Well, at first I thought I would like really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So for a few months, it was actually kind of nice to like completely reset. But man, I got bored so fast.
Are you a vacation guy? Like, what do you do? Just play games? Play with your cat? What do you do during your off time?
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out, and eventually I just realized. I tried to play a lot of games. I sort of had a short stint, like in Valorant. I tried to sort of. Yeah, I know that's like a very sensitive child topic for some reason.
Nice.
I was in discussions with some teams. Never really came to fruition anything.
Within CS:GO, that is. Teams within CS:GO?
Yeah, within CS:GO,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Then I sort of realized, especially in March, I sort of realized I was a bit lucky that I had the break at the end of CS:GO.
Yeah.
Because I sort of knew, okay, I can have time to reset, and everything will sort of be refreshed in the new game.
So obviously you're back. We know you as the coach. You're probably the most well-liked guy within esports in general. Like kind of the stepdad to everyone. Everyone loves you. But obviously you come back as a GM. What does that even stand? What's a GM? Like coach, I know, but GM?
Yeah, well, everyone who knows me is like, what I think about like bureaucracy, titles and stuff. But as a general manager, it means I am responsible for the performance of all the CS divisions. I almost said CS:GO, but CS2 divisions now in NIP.
So it's more of an overhead view than being hands-on as it was before being in the coach role. So this is more an overhead of the CS:GO teams.
Yeah, exactly. So the coaches would be accountable to me, right? I still truly believe that the coach is fully responsible and should be completely empowered working within a team. And I've been coaching for so long in different teams. I know how hard it can be when you're not given that full power. So like, even though I'm technically the coach's boss, they could tell me like, get out of the practice, Björn, because I need to talk to the team.
Okay, so they still have the power. You have the title, they have the power.
Yes.
Okay. Like The Office, better view? Did you negotiate that? Do you now have a perfect view of Stockholm?
I actually got the same spot I had last time, but I'm not really don't really care that much about sort of those things. I'm very easygoing when it comes to just like The Office.
I mean, speaking of The Office, you actually gave me a tour of The Office here in Stockholm, the NIP office. So let's take a look. Hi everyone, we're standing here in Stockholm, Sweden, outside the NIP office, where Threat will give us a grand tour of the office. So come along. Threat, my friend. Hello, thank you so much for having us.
Welcome to the NIP office.
The NIP office, wow.
First here we have a content room. We have Olelito here doing some some
Hello,
awesome
Ola.
streaming.
Hello.
Yeah, okay, so here we have a little chill area.
Okay.
Sometimes we can gather the team here or multiple teams. I coached both of these tournaments.
The ESL Cologne 2014.
This is the main one.
You know what? This one
is it.
actually looks really cool, though. Who haven't played? Who
Probably the best memory in my career. Bootcamp room 1, mostly young ninjas and the impact team.
Okay.
And other teams sometimes come to our office and use it as a bootcamp area. It's busy. This is the main bootcamp room.
Okay.
So maybe a little bit more confidential,
Yeah.
but also used as a meeting room from time to time. I actually
Being a
sit
grown-up.
over here in the office.
Hello.
Well, these are my
Big boss
coworkers.
over there. Yeah.
It is awesome to see how long we have come. Because when I joined back in 2016, we were like, I don't know, 4 people maybe, barely had an office, right?
And look at
that
this.
has come to this, right?
Thank you so much for having us, and I'll see you back in the office. Okay, so the first one is obviously our Oscar-performing acting. It's absolutely amazing. It's the two of us and Leo. But obviously, what also sticks out is the trophy cabinet. Obviously, how does that make you feel looking at that now?
I think it's a mixture of feelings. Like obviously, we haven't won any like truly big tournaments for a long while. The latest like true one we won would be. I mean, we did win IAM Fall, but that was more of a qualifier for the major, even though all the best teams were there. But before that, I was back in 2017, right? The IAM Oakland one, and this is the first time I was in NIP.
So, speaking and touching on that, obviously it's no secret, it has been a challenging year for NIP this season. So what's the actual vision for the team now? Because it's almost like a clean slate moving into CS2. It's a new chapter, new era, one might say. What's the vision for the team starting off in CS2?
So obviously I inherited like this lineup we currently have, right? And as you said yourself, right, it's been quite a tough road the previous 6 to 12 months for the lineup. Seeing that, it is sort of obvious that I will be looking to making some changes to the team. I mean, the players know this. Basically, everyone who's seen this know this, and especially going into CS2, right?
Okay.
Because I mean, there is a very clear role clash within the team, and for me, it's very important that everyone in the team feels comfortable. It's not about everyone has the perfect role, because sometimes I can feel even like from some players it can be a little bit of an excuse, like I don't have my perfect positions on every map, but it needs to be better.
So is that kind of what you're looking for as a GM, obviously, that overhead, putting your own stamp on the new team? Is that something you're looking at, or just creating the best possibility for success in CS2, I guess is the right term?
Yeah, I think I want to create the best possibility for the coaches and the team, right? The coaches will have their own brand on their lineup. Like, obviously, I have some things that I hold very dear to me that I will sort of not enforce, but I want them to like follow in every single of our teams.
Like pillar stones within that the players almost follow?
Yeah, pillar stones, exactly. But it's also very clear to me that the coaches need to be the one that owns the team, right? And this doesn't mean that I necessarily will sort of be this guy in the background who just does all like the administrative work. I will be able to go down and do the nitty-gritty stuff if they need me. I will be a resource at the same time as I'm their boss. Okay,
so that's a good question as well. How close will you actually be to the team? Will you be there if they need you? You're not going to be as hands-on, obviously, as a coach, because I guess, like you spoke about, the coach is the coach still going to have that final say, or is that just a cooperative mission between all of you? Because I guess coach is the one closest to the team making the decisions.
Yeah, the team will always make the decision, and hopefully, I mean, they see me as a valuable asset. I have been working with the CS since '99. Which is a very long time.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, and I had the position of technical director before, which was more of an analyst role. So, like even doing prep for a team is very important, because we always have to remember that, like even though people might see these esports organizations like NIP, like these big companies, right? We're actually like very few people working closely with the team. So it's sort of the thing where we have our roles, but everyone could be doing a little bit of anything. So if Daniel will come to me like, oh, man, we need some prep on Inferno against this team, I'm not like too high of an authority to be able to do that.
Okay, so that's a conscious decision then, keeping not as few people as possible around the team, but making sure the correct employee makes the correct decision for that. So if they need a coach, he's there, but if they need you as well, you're also available for help, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big fan of like flat organizations.
Okay.
Obviously, there needs to be some sort of hierarchy who has the last word, but I prefer it flat.
Okay. Chat, I see you guys going going crazy? Because I hear Thread just mentioned lineup changes. So, by the way, keep those questions coming. We're going to pick out the greatest and best questions at the end of the show. So, keep the questions coming. So, we got to move into it. Obviously, CS2 being released yesterday. Bit of a shock, bit of a... It's both, really. Like, it's Valve. You never know what they're going to do. But obviously, that also creates a kind of a unique situation for the team. What do you even work on now at this early? Because have you been practicing playing CS2 for a while? What has the process been?
Yeah, so I've been in this position for a few weeks now, and the first thing I did when I joined was making sure we started with CS2 immediately.
Okay.
I mean, there were rumors that it was going to be released a few months ago, and like back and forth. But this sort of rumor that it was going to be released at the end of September seemed very likely, and like obviously now we have it, right?
So you've been on CS2 for a couple of weeks already. Did you get any inside info about the release? That it was actually coming yesterday. Do pro teams get some sort of know-how with Valve, or are you just as surprised as us?
Well, I can only talk for myself, but no,
Okay.
I had no idea. But I mean, at the point where Valve themselves had like the Counter-Strike Twitter account started writing it, I mean, at that point, I think it was quite obvious.
Okay, so I gotta ask, because I know obviously chat going crazy about it. It is the main question right now. NIP has always been Swedish, of course. It's been the backbone, basically. You have moved into an international roster. I gotta give you the question.
Yes.
Is that the way you're gonna go moving into CS2, or are you heading into a Swedish lineup, or are you gonna keep going with the international ones?
So the way I view it is, I will, when I look for players, I look for talents from all nationalities right now. So that means, well, we're not going into a Swedish lineup. And this is a very controversial topic, especially for NIP with the legacy we have, right? But it's also like something you need to check in the entire scene. If you go back to the beginning of CSGO, let's maybe say 2014, 2015, I mean, we had French lineups. There were a lot of national lineups. If you look at the current world ranking right now, it's mostly the national lineups are, I mean, the outliers obviously Denmark, which is crazy because they're such a small country. We have the Russian-speaking teams, though they have a very big pool of players to choose from. And then the Brazilian lineups. But I don't think currently there is a single Brazilian lineup in the top 10. My point with this is we shouldn't be too harsh on ourselves in Sweden that we didn't sort of manage to have a tier 1 full Swedish lineup at this point.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that I don't believe we can have it. But right now, it's too complicated to make it work.
Is that annoying? Might be the wrong word. Was the Swedish part something you actually had in the back of your minds at all time, and is that other countries catching up to Sweden? Is it Sweden maybe falling a bit behind? Because obviously the NIP has always, like you said, it's been a Swedish lineup, and it's one of those. It's supposed to be, but I guess if you're good enough, it won't matter where you're from. Is the current standpoint that you're taking?
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, if I could choose right now 5 Swedish players and everything works, I mean, this is something that is hard to know if you're outside of the scene, but obviously every player is very professional. Right? Everyone has contracts, there's everything around politics. You can't just pick and choose, right? So that entire thing, also with roles, sometimes, I mean, you can see this HLTV threads where it's like,
you don't look at HLTV
you just put a pile of good players and it's like, play together, make it work, right? It's not how it works in reality, but it's...
But it's a bit like football, like PSG. It's Neymar and Mbappe. You buy all the superstars. That doesn't automatically mean they're all going to blend and mix together in a good way, right? I mean, it has to be a fit within the entire team, all 5 players.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not clairvoyant in that I can sort of foresee the future, but we are moving into more international lineups.
Okay.
And I do want more Swedish players in tier 1. I think we should sort of change it. Instead of having, okay, we're going to have a top Swedish team, let's get more players into tier 1.
Okay.
And we're starting to see more Swedish players getting to tier 1. We have Susp, for example, getting some really good results.
Nilo, all these talents, you work with them as well. I mean, we have a lot of talents up and coming.
Yeah, and we have a lot of great initiatives in Sweden as well. We have Eyeballers, Alliance was just announced. We have Esport Studio that really tries to like rally all the Swedes together. I just need to, as I said before, like we don't want to be too harsh on ourselves because we can look at other, like France, for example. Same thing happened there. We have Finland with ENS, has gone full international at this point, right? And I mean, if something, we should look a bit to Denmark, right? Because what are they doing there? they have this, if you have like a pyramid, right, where the top of the pyramid is the tier 1 of the scene, you always have to remember at the top of the pyramid, very few people are actually there, right?
Yeah.
But you need to sort of build it from the ground up. And that's why I really like these initiatives like Esports Studio.
Okay. So is it terms now, like you said, actually building something, going into upcoming roster changes, whatever you guys decide on? And before I continue, I got to ask, can you tell me who's leaving, who's joining? I mean...
No.
Okay. I'm going to ask that once more, and hopefully you'll answer that one. Okay, so is it now in terms of building for instant success? Are you going into CS2 with first major, that's the goal, that's the objective? Or is it more looking into the future for getting, maybe stability might be the correct word, you want that calmness within so you can actually build to something?
Yeah, I think going into CS2, there's so many question marks for everyone, right? If you look at the change from 1.6 to CSGO, obviously a bigger change, so it's not a perfect comparison, but I think there were like 13 out of the top 20 players changed the first year. I don't think we're going to see that big of a change, but there will be a lot of things happening. So like going crazy just before or at the start now of CS2 is probably a bad idea, though I do see some fundamental problems within this current
climate?
Or NIP team, even, right, where the sort of a clear lack of leadership and also the problems with the roles, right? So it's sort of like I want to solve those problems and then go into CS2 because, I mean, there's no organization or team right now in the world that sort of knows who's going to be the best team in the world in 3 months.
True. Do you think it's going to be like a free-for-all now, CS2? Because I guess it's sort of a unique situation because is it almost like a blessing in disguise for NIP? Because like we said, it's such a weird situation because you had such major success within CSGO, but it's the last year and a half, 2 years that has been rocky. Is this almost like a blessing in disguise where it's a clean slate? It's you starting a new era. It's a new future for NIP heading into CS2. So you get that clean, like, okay, new game, new team. Is that how you look at it?
Yes, that's sort of how I want to view it. So like, let's start it from not from scratch.
No, exactly. No,
exactly. But it's like keep some of the basics, but we want to go in very fresh into CS2. And something that should be expected from every team is that the variance of the results is going to be super high. It's going to be so much random things happening. Everything from like actual technical problems in the game, because obviously it's a new game, it's going to have a lot of bugs, to teams figuring out something new that's game breaking, almost on like a weekly basis.
Yeah, and then updating them, the bugs and the game breaking. Yeah, exactly. So, okay. So the first, what do you feel? How long is this good? Because I know you made kind of the same transition, basically going from 1.6 to CSGO as we're now heading into CSGO into CS2. Have you learned anything from that transition? Can you take anything away from that into this? Because I don't want to put you on the spot, but it was quite some time ago. But do you think you can learn from that transition?
Well, I can learn to not make the same mistake again because
What were the mistakes? What were the mistakes?
Yeah, okay, so I was actually one of the people who were like, oh, CSGO, what the hell? This is so terrible. This will never make it. And I actually quit playing. So I actually didn't touch CSGO for the first 2 years of that game. And
you played Valorant?
And what I realized, yes, exactly. I sort of realized now, obviously, that I was completely wrong. And that's a message I want to tell not only to my players, but to everyone, and especially all talents, like especially in Sweden, right? Like this is the chance to push, because this, like, to be a pure CS2 player. I mean, people have this problem because it's like, I want to be pro in like 6 months or 1 year. Look 3 months or 3 years ahead, right? That's where you want to push. Okay,
so. We've spoken a lot about the actual Swedish scene, and like I touched a bit about, it has been, it started to get really negative a year and a half ago, but it feels like the last 6 months or so, it's been an uptick in both positivity and honestly just in terms of player talent teams, like you mentioned, Alliance, we have Metisport, Nilo, Ovid is an honorable mention as well. It feels like, I don't know, are we coming back? Is it even going back? Were we ever in a slump? What's your thoughts on the current state of the Swedish scene? Because it feels kind of good. It does. But I'm not used to the positivity either.
I mean, because I was part of the like golden generation, right, with Forrest, Get Right, and all of those players, and like even back in 1.6, you have Wally who's becoming active now again, all of those players. Because I don't think anyone can sort of point to, even us, right, like what went so right back then. Yeah. So, but something went right. We were sort of like Denmark is now, right? It's a very small country, but for some reason Sweden was like the best for such a long time. We had 3 teams in the top 10. Honestly, I don't think almost any country will make it to that state again. Like people might say Denmark right. I think that's sort of pushing it too much because now it's so much more international. There's so many more countries playing.
Yeah, but isn't that then unfair to actually put that almost pressure on you guys? Because you look back at you, oh, they had that insane roster. They were so good back then. Yes, but the scene has changed so much. There's so much more money involved. There's so much more talent. There's so much more availability to actually become something within it. So isn't that almost unfair to you guys that you're actually being compared to that? Like this should obviously CS2 then be the new slate for a new NIP CSGO team, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at, and that's sort of what I said before, right? I think it's more important to sort of have, if we're talking about Swedish CS, to sort of not go too crazy and like, we want a full Swedish lineup to win the major.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's pushing it too much, right? Let's start with getting more players into Tier 1. And we're already seeing Isaac. We're seeing Nork doing really well in Gamer Legion, both making it to the major playoffs, right? So we have those players. We just need more. And when we reach a point where we have a bunch of players there, then maybe we can start looking at something, right? Because as I said before, right, it's so important now to like have roles that fit. I mean, sure, you can probably write down a piece of paper like these are 5 Swedish players that can play in Tier 1.
Yeah.
But then it's like, can they match? Can you actually get them? That's always also a question, right?
I mean, speaking of actual like academy and growing grassroots, you did have an incredibly popular, you can call it academy team, obviously Young Ninjas, huge success. There has been some movement going on there, obviously. Players stepping up, and like we said, Nilo, for example, is a huge one. We also saw Era recently being released from the Young Ninjas team. What are your plans, I guess, for the Young Ninjas team? Are you still going to go into that avenue of harboring young talents, for example? Like if you see a insane 13-year-old, for example, like what's the thought process on the academy team?
So currently we haven't finalized anything yet.
Okay,
but we're going to sort of, the idea here is we're going to have more of a, once again, international approach.
Okay. Is that, so that's international for Young Ninjas as well? So you're basically copying the same thing. So international for the main team and copying that success, I guess, for the Young Ninjas team as well.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And it's very important to me that because something, I mean, it was quite a success, Young Ninjas before, right? We had ZTR, we had Linus going into the A team, right? Maybe we like pushed them a bit too close to the sun too early.
Okay.
But they're still playing really well right now, right? But it's the thing that's very important to me now is that those players that if they go from Young Ninjas up to the A team, that they're truly ready for it.
Okay.
That it won't be like too big of a difference. Right.
Did you think you learned a bit from that? Because there were some criticism, obviously. Like you said, maybe bit too quick, bit too fast moving them up. Is that something you've now learned from having the maybe patience to actually let them grow within that? It's almost like football again, like being in the academy team and then making that step up once they're ready for it. Is that something you learned of?
Yeah, I think there's different, like the way I view it at that time, this is like 2021.
Yeah.
When we started with taking in ZTR, and you have to sort of remember back then we had very poor results at the end of 2020. So we sort of reached a point, right, where, okay, we might as well take a gamble here.
Okay.
We'll bring in ZTR, and I think the good thing about doing that is our results that year was way better than it used to be, right? And there can be a lot of reasons to this. Like there's a lot of motivation coming, like taking a player like that into the team. However, maybe we took him in too early because he might have struggled later in his career, right? Maybe we wanted to build him up more before we sort of present him to the world, right? Because from a career perspective for an individual, if you get into a really good team too early, then people will see how you perform, and you might get judged too early.
And being that young of an age, having that pressure of then social media, not getting the performances, I guess that's a huge toll for someone that young, obviously being in the academy team. That's also a major one. Are you hopeful about the future of Swedish CSGO future?
Yes, I would say like with Alliance, with Eyeballers, with all of these other teams, and as I said, like that we just see a lot of Swedes in the Tier 1 lineups is I think that's very promising, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's I just want to see more players in Tier 1 from Sweden.
Okay.
That's sort of the first thing I want to see. Then obviously I dream like everyone else, right? I want this like look back at the glory days of NIP winning everything as a Swedish lineup. but I would not force it.
Would you say people need to maybe temper their expectations and kind of bring it down a bit and just let you cook, as the kids say?
Yeah, it's something like
Yeah.
that. Because I mean, now that we have young ninjas, I don't want to make the same mistakes where we just we have a Swedish young ninjas and we just take a player and maybe they're not ready. I'd rather have a Swede in young ninjas,
Okay.
and then I determine that they're good enough to go into the A team. Then we bring them into the A team,
Okay.
right?
Lots of things going on in NIP, as you can hear. There's also lots of things going on in chat. We finally arrived. Obviously, Threat has apparently lots of work to do. So we're going to move into the Q&A part with Threat. So, Threat, we try to pick out the best questions. It's a tough one. By the way, thank you so much, everyone, being involved, tuning in. It means a lot, and obviously, it means a lot to NIP as well. So, like we said, we have a couple of questions. I'm going to start with the best one. Who is Eric Wenda?
Who's Eric Wendell? No, to keep a long story short, Eric Wendell is the director of esports at NIP. He worked here before. I'm close friends with him. He got this position, and Eric is not the best at CS, as most people who know him knows, and that's why he hired me as a GM.
You know he's watching, right? You know he's
That's
fuming
absolutely
right now
fine.
looking at this.
You know you're not good.
So we kind of touched on this, but what do you want to bring to the table this time around for NIP? If you had to boil it down to a couple of things, what do you want to bring to it? I know you mentioned stability and a bit of a calm presence, I guess. What do you want to bring?
Yeah, I think a little bit more transparency.
Okay.
I also think that I want to really put be clear that the coach is the one responsible for each team. That is very, very holy to me because I've been a coach for such a long time. And sort of build a structure especially with a talent building machine like young ninjas. I think that's something, especially going into the future. I mean, if you take players that plays in even the best teams in the world, like you take Flames and Spinks, for example, in Vitality. If you look at 2020, where they played, you probably haven't even heard of them, right?
Sure.
They played these like tier 3 tournaments, so which is exciting. I really think this is exciting because there's so many new prospects coming into the scene.
So this is actually a good one I want to touch on as well. Question number 3. Do you have what are your goals for NIP Impact? That's also a good one. The NIP Impact team.
So the goal for, I mean, there are a few goals there. Obviously, is to win the Impact League.
Of course.
But also, first of all, like to see them improve. And like the dream would be that you can like either they start competing like some high tier tournaments with the other teams, or that we would get maybe some of them into young ninjas, something like that.
For this next one, I just want you to maybe fake that the cameras are off. But it's any immediate changes happening right away?
Well, I can phrase it like this, right? So obviously there is a clear role clash within the A team. This is something when I joined that I communicated immediately to the players that needs to be addressed because no one benefits from playing in a team where the roles doesn't work. The team will play bad, and regardless if you're cut or you're in the team, that will be better for you because playing in a team that's not performing is not. It's just bad.
Yeah.
And I want to give huge credits to the players because being this transparent is not easy to hear.
Sure.
It is a very tough position to them to be in this sort of limbo as they are in right now. But they're super professional. They're practicing CS2, so they're ready whatever happens. And on that note, right, like if they want to continue playing CS, right, it's very important to be on top in CS2. So these early weeks are very important. But all credit to the players.
Okay. Like I said, Threat, I know you're busy. We're going to get you back. There's actually a question here at the bottom, which is a really good one. Do you think you will ever get back to coaching? Are you done with that part of your life, or what if the GM part is a boring one? You're too far away from the team, and you just want to get in there. Will you ever get back?
This is the third I am in NIP.
Third time's a charm,
so
you
I'm
know?
not even
I mean,
going to give an answer to that. I might become a player again. Who knows, right?
I mean, CS2. I mean, everyone's a clean slate. I mean, have you actually played it, by the way, CS2, on your own?
A little bit. I wish I had time to play more, but yeah.
Okay, so you spoke a lot about transparency, and we're going to let you go through it, but I actually love this. I actually want to end on this comment in Twitch chat. It's directed to you and everyone at NIP. I love the transparency. I love the openness. It's a breath of fresh air, which is exactly what you spoke about. It gives us NIP fans hope for the future. A huge good luck in CS2, Threat, and the entirety of NIP. And I guess that's kind of the compliment and the focus you guys want now. Like you spoke about transparency and being open to the fans has given you so much.
Yeah, and it is it's very interesting to get back into this sort of hectic time, especially with the release of CS2, because that changes so much. But it's what I can tell you is I'm working day and night to make everything as fast as possible for the fans, also for the players that's still in the team, and for everyone out there.
Yeah, we'll never doubt that. First of all, thank you so much for coming. It's been a treat. I know you have lots and lots to do within the team as a, what was it, Grandmaster?
Yeah, the Grandmaster.
That's a cool title. Ladies and gentlemen, literally, we cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for this time. Make sure you guys follow NIP's socials for updates, news, and just world-class memes, really. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time.